Life is not a series of isolated battles, but rather a vast, intricate symphony where each challenge, each silence, each moment of uncertainty is a note played in harmony with the unseen forces that shape us. We, like musicians, are part of a divine composition, each step we take reverberating in ways we may never fully understand. The struggles we face are not interruptions, but movements in this grand, unfolding narrative designed with a purpose we are only beginning to comprehend. Every setback is a moment of pause, every silence an invitation to listen deeper to the rhythm of existence. And in these pauses, we rediscover our strength, not because we are alone in our efforts, but because we are intimately connected to the cosmos itself. In the end, the dance is not ours to define, but ours to live. It's not over until we embrace the music of our journey, for the symphony is never finished. Until we choose to play our part. Life, when you think about it, isn't just a collection of individual moments. It's a vast, intricate symphony, a cosmic arrangement that stretches far beyond the confines of our personal experiences. We often get caught up in thinking of our lives as a series of isolated events: wins, losses, good times, and bad. But what if we took a step back and realized that each of these moments is just a note in a much grander composition? A note that on its own might not seem to make much sense, but when viewed as part of the larger melody, contributes to something much deeper, more meaningful, and more meaningful. The truth is, we often don't see the entire score of our lives. We hear the notes we're playing in the present, but we can't always hear the full harmony of the universe that's supporting us. Every challenge we face, every quiet moment of introspection, every failure, and every small victory is part of this grand arrangement. It's as though we're all part of a larger orchestra, with a role to play, even when we don't fully understand the music we're part of. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't seem to be going the way we envisioned. We can start to question ourselves, wondering if we've lost our way. We see others seemingly moving forward effortlessly, and it can feel like we're falling behind, like our individual note is flat, out of place, out of place. But the reality is, no note is ever truly out of place in the grand symphony of existence. Even when it feels like silence surrounds us, even when we think we've hit a sour note, we are still part of that same divine composition. Let's take a moment to think about the silence. Let's take a moment to think about the silence. How often do we see silence as a problem? When there's a gap in our lives, when the music seems to fade, we often panic. We rush to fill it with noise, distractions, or forceful attempts to make things happen. But silence, much like any rest in a musical piece, has a purpose. Has a purpose. And it's not an absence of sound, but a space for reflection, for something deeper to emerge. In these moments of quiet, we're not stuck or defeated. We're being prepared for the next movement. The music might not be playing at the speed we want, but that doesn't mean it's not still unfolding. Think about how often we fail to recognize the divine design behind our struggles. Every difficult moment, every setback, isn't just a random event in our lives. It's a purposeful shift, a recalibration to help us find the rhythm that aligns with who we're meant to become. Think of it like a musician who must learn to play in tune with the orchestra. There's practice, there's dissonance, and yes, there's frustration. But without these moments, how could we ever learn to play in harmony? The beauty is, we don't need to see the full arrangement to know it's there. Much like a musician doesn't always know the full structure of the symphony they're playing, only their individual part, there is trust in the process. There is trust that even though we might not see it now, every note we play is part of a larger, unfolding masterpiece. We might not always understand why certain movements are happening, but if we have the courage to stay in tune with ourselves, we'll find our rhythm. It's the interconnectedness of life that makes this possible. You see, we're not isolated in our struggles or triumphs. We are, in fact, deeply connected to the vast network of experiences and people that make up the world around us. Our individual notes reverberate through the lives of others, just as theirs reverberate through ours. The ups and downs we face are not just our own. They ripple outward, contributing to a much larger movement. Imagine it like this: the more we embrace our part, however small or insignificant it may seem, the more it contributes to the harmony of the whole. What we're part of is far larger than we can comprehend. There's a certain humility in this understanding, isn't there? It teaches us that we are not the sole players in this game. There's a force greater than us, shaping, guiding, and yes, sometimes even challenging us to grow. But we are not at the mercy of this force. We are part of it. We are the very expression of it, and as such, we cannot truly fail. Quote, cannot truly fail. Even in the moments that feel like setbacks, we're simply being moved to the next part of the symphony. And so, here's where we find our greatest strength. It's in our willingness to keep playing. It's in our decision to embrace the music not as something we control, but as something we contribute to. Life will have its pauses, its unexpected dissonances, but those aren't signals that it's over. They're invitations to trust, to listen deeper, to step into the flow of something larger than ourselves. When we understand that life is not a solitary journey, but a shared symphony, we begin to see our struggles, our quiet moments, and even our silences as movements, part of something far greater than any single note could represent. Thing would could represent. And so, we find the courage to stay in the game, to stay present, because we know it's not over until we realize the music never truly stops. It only changes, and so do we. Failure is actually one of our greatest allies in this journey. I've heard it said that every setback is a setup for a comeback. But let's be honest, when we face a challenge, it doesn't always feel that way. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going the way we want. But what if I told you that failure is actually a crucial part of your growth? The thing that we often see as an obstacle is really just a stepping stone, a lesson that's been hidden in plain sight. We all go through struggles. If you're here today and you've faced challenges, whether in your career, education, or personal life, you're not alone. In fact, there's not a single person who hasn't encountered some form of adversity. And yet, what separates those who rise above their challenges from those who give in is simple. It's the ability to learn and grow from those challenges. It's the decision to take what you've experienced, it's the mistakes you've made, and transform them into lessons that move you forward. Think about your journey so far. If you've ever struggled with school or a project, felt like you were up against the odds, or perhaps faced a moment when you didn't know what the next step was, it wasn't the end. That moment of uncertainty, that sense of doubt, was a gift. It was an opportunity for growth. And this is where learning comes in. The real test is not how we perform when things are smooth. No, the real test is how we perform when the road gets rough, when the conditions are anything but ideal. That's when we have to dig deep, to search for the lessons hidden within the difficulty, and trust that each failure holds a key to success. I want you to think about your experience with your education for a second. Whether it's your BSc in civil engineering or any other path you've chosen, there was undoubtedly a time when things didn't go according to plan. Maybe the grades weren't where you wanted them to be, or a particular project seemed impossible. It happens to the best of us. Thus, but you didn't let that define you, did you? Instead, you showed up. You worked hard, maybe even harder than before. And when the final results came in, you knew that the lessons you learned through your struggles had made you stronger. In fact, without those challenges, you wouldn't be the person you are today. Those struggles didn't just shape your knowledge, they shaped your character. They taught you resilience, patience, and determination. The same principle applies when we step into the real world. The moment you set out to find that next opportunity, maybe a job in Saudi Arabia or a project that pushes you to new limits, you're going to face challenges. But here's the thing. That's not a sign that you're failing. It's actually a sign that you're growing. Each job interview, each negotiation, each moment where things don't go perfectly is another layer of experience that adds to who you are. It's part of the process. Look at technology, something that I'm sure many of you here have engaged with, whether it's your work with the ESP32 Room 32 or learning new systems and tools. If you've ever tried to troubleshoot an issue or faced a bug you couldn't fix, you know the feeling of frustration. But when you step back and think about it, Each of those challenges only makes you more skilled. Each failure teaches you how to approach problems in a new way, gives you new tools in your problem solving toolbox, and forces you to think outside the box. The same is true for anything in life. Whether it's dealing with a setback at work, struggling through an educational hurdle, or even facing personal challenges, you can either see these experiences as roadblocks or you can choose to see them as lessons. I've always believed that the people who succeed aren't necessarily the ones who never fail, they're the ones who keep getting back up. Learning from every mistake and applying those lessons to the next challenge. Because success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about knowing how to get up after falling. We often forget that learning is a process, not an event. You don't wake up one morning fully equipped with all the knowledge you need to succeed. It takes time. It takes trial and error. It takes making mistakes, picking yourself back up, and adjusting your approach. Each time you fail, you get closer to finding the solution. And that's the beauty of it. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens through the ups and downs, the learning, the adapting. It's in the struggle that we find the strength to push forward, and it's in the failures that we often uncover the greatest lessons. Yeah, hi, mate. So, next time you find yourself up against a challenge, don't see it as something holding you back. See it as something pushing you forward. Embrace the discomfort that comes with learning. Be willing to ask the tough questions, seek feedback, and take risks. Because it's not just about getting to the end goal, it's about who you become in the process. It's about using every experience to grow, adapt, and improve. And remember this, you're never alone in this journey. Every single person in this room, every single person you've ever met, has faced their own set of challenges. The ones who win are not the ones who never fail, they're the ones who never stop learning. When you understand this, when you internalize it, there's nothing that can stop you. And in those moments when you feel like giving up, I want you to remember, it's not over until you win. Let's talk about self-belief for a moment. I know it sounds simple, almost like a cliche. Almost like a cliche, but trust me, the power of believing in yourself is something that can truly change everything. It's the foundation of everything you do. The truth is, you can have all the skills, all the experience, and all the resources in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're already at a disadvantage. Self-belief is the fuel that drives you when the road gets tough. It's the difference between giving up and pushing forward. Now, I know that sounds great in theory, but we've all been in those situations where doubt creeps in. Maybe it's before a big presentation or a job interview, or when you're faced with a challenge that feels too big to handle. We all know that feeling of uncertainty, that little voice in our heads telling us we're not good enough, that we don't have what it takes. But here's the thing, that voice, the one that tries to hold you back, is not the truth. It's just noise. It's just noise. The truth is, you are capable of far more than you realize, and the only thing standing between where you are now and where you want to be is the belief that you can get there. Think about your own life for a second. How many times have you found yourself doubting your abilities? Maybe it was during your studies, wondering if you'd make it through the tough courses. Or maybe it was when you took a leap into a new job or a new city, thinking, what if I'm not cut out for this? We all face moments like this. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't is the ability to push through that self-doubt and trust in your own potential. Believing in yourself isn't about thinking you're perfect or that you know everything. It's about having the confidence to try, even when you don't have all the answers. It's about acknowledging that failure is part of the process and not letting it define you. Every time you step into the unknown, whether it's taking on a new project or moving forward in your career, you're taking a risk. But it's that very risk that leads to growth. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, the one where all your doubts are gone and you feel 100% ready, then you'll never take the first step. And let's be honest, how many of us really ever feel 100% ready for what's ahead? This is where self-belief comes in. It's about taking that first step, even when you're not sure of what's going to happen next. It's trusting yourself enough to know that, no matter what, you'll figure it out. Maybe it's a difficult project, like the one you're working on for your French culminating project, or maybe it's a job opportunity that seems a bit beyond your reach. When you have self belief, you don't wait for everything to be perfect. You act, and through action, you learn, you grow, and you get better. The other key to self belief is understanding that you don't have to have all the answers right away. You don't have to be perfect in every moment. Life isn't about being flawless. And it's about showing up, putting in the work, and trusting that over time you'll figure it out. There's something incredibly powerful about knowing that you don't have to know everything right now, but that with each experience, you're getting closer to where you want to be. It's about having the patience to keep going, even when things aren't moving as quickly as you'd like. Think back to the work you're doing with technology, like your experience with the ESP32 Room 32. You've probably run into roadblocks, things that seemed impossible to solve at first. But you didn't give up. You learned. You adjusted. And over time, you became more confident in your abilities. This is what happens when you trust yourself to figure things out. With each challenge you face, you prove to yourself that you're capable. That builds confidence. That builds belief. Believing in yourself isn't about being arrogant or thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about understanding your own worth and your own potential. It's about knowing that you have something valuable to offer, no matter what the situation. And when you believe in yourself, others start to believe in you too. People can sense confidence. When you walk into a room, when you step up to the plate, when you take on a new challenge, people will see that you trust yourself, and that confidence is contagious. But here's the tricky part. Self-belief doesn't mean you're not going to have doubts. You're going to question yourself, and that's completely normal. But the key is not to let those doubts paralyze you. Instead of letting doubts stop you, use it as fuel. Doubt is just another opportunity for you to prove to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. The more you face those doubts head on and push through them, the more you strengthen your belief in your own abilities. Self-belief also means being kind to yourself. It's about understanding that no one is perfect. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's necessary. Mistakes are part of the journey, part of the learning process. But when you believe in yourself, you don't let mistakes define you. It's define you. You use them as stepping stones to move forward. So, the next time you find yourself at a crossroads unsure of which path to take, remember that the most important thing you can do is believe in yourself. Trust that you have the strength, the skills, and the determination to succeed. You believe that you are capable even when things get tough. And most importantly, believe that you are enough. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about having the courage to step forward even when you're not sure of the outcome. And when you believe in yourself, there's nothing that can stop you from reaching your potential. So remember this, it's not over until you win. I want to talk about something that I think is at the core of every success story: belief in yourself. Now, I know it sounds a bit cliche. We've all heard the motivational quotes, seen the Instagram posts that say, "You believe in yourself, and you'll achieve anything." But let me tell you something, it's more than just a catchphrase. It's a mindset, a way of life that changes the game entirely. You see, believing in yourself isn't about thinking you're perfect or that everything will always go your way. It's about having the courage to show up, even when the odds seem stacked against you. It's about knowing that no matter how hard things get, you have what it takes to keep moving forward. The world around you may seem uncertain, the road ahead might look steep, and the voices of doubt can be loud. The voices of doubt can be loud. But in those moments, belief in yourself is what keeps you going. It's your foundation, your fuel, and your unwavering commitment to your vision. I can tell you it wasn't always easy. There were times when I questioned myself, especially when I first started my journey in YouTube automation. I was learning the ropes, figuring out the ins and outs, and for every step I took, it seemed like there were two steps backward. I didn't always know what I was doing, and I didn't always have the answers. but I kept showing up. I kept believing that if I stayed focused, if I kept pushing, it would eventually click. And slowly but surely it did. It wasn't just about the technical skills. It was about trust, the trust that I had what it takes to figure it out. We've all been there, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's tackling a new project, starting a new job, or even negotiating something as important as a salary, you have to believe that you can handle it. And let me tell you, belief doesn't come from waiting for everything to be perfect. It comes from knowing that even when things go wrong, even when you don't have all the answers, you'll find a way to make it work. That's how success happens. Belief in yourself is also about knowing your worth. I remember when I was in college, working through my civil engineering degree. I had my share of struggles too. The grades weren't always great, the pressure was high, and there were times when I wondered if I was cut out for it. But in those moments of self-doubt, I had to remind myself, I didn't get this far by accident. I got here because I believed that I could do it, and that belief is what pushed me to keep going, even when the world around me seemed to be saying, maybe this isn't for you. The same holds true in every area of life. When I transitioned to a new field, something as complex as YouTube automation, it would have been easy to give up when things didn't immediately work out. It would have been tempting to throw in the towel and say, this is too hard, I can't do it. The ones who succeed are the ones who don't give in to that voice, the ones who keep pushing forward because they trust that they're capable of figuring it out. They believe in their ability to learn, to grow, and to adapt. Believing in yourself is about embracing the journey, not just focusing on the destination. And let's be real, the journey is going to be filled with obstacles. You'll face setbacks, you'll experience failure, and you might even get knocked down a few times. But every time you get up, you learn. Every time you keep going, you grow stronger. Every time you push through the doubt, you build resilience. And that, my friends, is where real power lies. When you start believing in yourself, you start to see the world differently. Suddenly, obstacles aren't just barriers, they're opportunities to learn. Challenges aren't threats, they're chances to prove your strength and character. The job you want, the life you're striving for, isn't some distant dream that only a select few will ever reach. All you have to do is believe that it is. And here's the thing about belief, it's contagious. When you believe in yourself, other people start believing in you too. They see that you're someone who doesn't back down, someone who rises above the noise. It creates a ripple effect. Your belief in yourself inspires others to believe in themselves. And when you all come together, that's when the magic happens. But belief isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily practice. It's something you have to choose over and over again. Some days will be harder than others. Wanais, Amdi. You'll face challenges that make you question whether it's worth it. But in those moments, remind yourself, it's not over until I win. Because when you believe in yourself, that's your victory. Every step you take forward, no matter how small, is progress. And with every ounce of belief you carry with you, the finish line gets closer. So the next time you find yourself standing at the edge of uncertainty, when the doubt creeps in and the road ahead seems unclear, remember this: victory doesn't come to those who quit. It doesn't come to those who give up when things get tough. It comes to the ones who believe in themselves, who keep showing up, who refuse to back down. It's not over until you win. Keep going because you have what it takes to get there. Oh, I want to talk about something that I believe is often overlooked but is absolutely essential to overcoming any challenge: adaptability. See, we live in a world that's constantly changing. New technologies emerge every day, markets evolve, expectations shift. Such over expectations shift. The idea that we can set our sights on one goal and take a linear path to get there just doesn't hold up anymore. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that success doesn't come from doing things the same way over and over again. It comes from the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to find new ways of doing things when the old ways aren't working anymore. Think about it. We've all faced those moments where something just doesn't go as planned. Maybe you started out on a path that seemed clear, only to realize halfway through that the landscape has changed. The strategy you thought would work doesn't, and you're left standing there wondering, what now? But here's the thing, those moments are where the magic happens. The ones who make it aren't the ones who have the best plans from the start. They're the ones who can pivot when the plan doesn't work. They're the ones who aren't afraid to embrace new ideas, who can take what's in front of them and find a way to make it work. Ork. I remember when I first started working with YouTube automation. The landscape was constantly shifting. The tools I thought I'd rely on suddenly became outdated. Strategies that once worked no longer brought the same results. It was frustrating. It was frustrating. It would have been easy to throw my hands up and say, this isn't going to work. I can't keep up with this pace. But I refused to back down. Instead, I leaned into it. I started exploring new technologies, new strategies, and new ways to approach my work. I realized that the only way to stay relevant, to stay in the game, was to keep adapting. And that's what I did. Adapting isn't just about changing with the times, it's about being open to new ideas, new methods, and sometimes even new failures. It's about looking at every challenge as a learning opportunity. When you embrace change, you create a mindset that allows you to find creative solutions, even when things seem impossible. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you've reached a point where there's no room for growth. But the truth is, there's always room for improvement, as long as you're willing to adapt. The key to adaptability is staying curious. When you stop asking questions, when you stop looking for better ways, that's when you start to fall behind. Every day, new possibilities open up in front of us. Open up in front of us. Whether it's a new tool, a new perspective, or a new opportunity, the world is constantly changing. The question is, will you change with it? Will you find ways to evolve with the times, or will you stay stuck in the past? Think about the world of technology, for example. Just a few years ago, tools like ESP32 Room 32 were cutting edge, and today they're still incredibly useful. But the landscape has evolved. New technologies have emerged, and those who stay open to learning and adapting are the ones who can truly make an impact. We see this across every industry. Those who are successful aren't necessarily the smartest or the most experienced. They're the ones who can think outside the box, who are willing to embrace the unknown, and who have the courage to try something different. Now, this doesn't mean that you should throw away everything you've learned so far. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning your foundation. It means building on what you already know and adding new layers. It means being flexible enough to adjust your approach while staying true to your core values and your vision. It's about finding a balance between what works and what could work, between the tried and true and the untested possibilities. This mindset of adaptability is crucial when it comes to facing setbacks. In fact, I'd argue that setbacks aren't setbacks at all. They're just the universe's way of forcing you to adapt. Think about the times in your life when things didn't go according to plan. Maybe you failed at something, or maybe you encountered a roadblock that you didn't expect. It would have been easy to give up. It would have been tempting to throw in the towel and say, this just isn't meant for me. But you didn't. Instead, you adjusted. You found another way forward. You adapted to it. And that's why you're still here today. The real magic of adaptability lies in the fact that it opens doors. When you're willing to change, when you're willing to try new things, you position yourself to take advantage of opportunities that you might otherwise miss. Opportunities don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they show up in unexpected forms. Maybe it's a new technology, a different method, or a new partnership. The point is, you won't be able to see those opportunities unless you're open to change. And when you're open to change, that's when you start to see things differently. Now, don't get me wrong. Adaptability isn't always easy. It's uncomfortable. It challenges us. It forces us out of our comfort zones. But if we can get comfortable with discomfort, if we can learn to embrace the unknown, then there's no limit to what we can achieve. We don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to know everything right now. We just have to be willing to adjust, to learn, and to keep moving forward. Adaptability is what turns obstacles into stepping stones It's what transforms challenges into opportunities for growth, and it's what will ultimately propel you to success. So the next time you find yourself faced with a challenge, remember this: it's not about the obstacle in front of you. It's about your ability to adapt and find a way through it. The power to succeed lies in your ability to change, to learn, and to keep evolving. And when you do that, you'll not only overcome the obstacles in your path, you'll also uncover the incredible potential that lies within you. Adaptability is the key to making the impossible possible.